So, we've talked a lot about the offensive line, defensive line, and we talked about the secondary. Overall, let's talk about other position groups. What do you feel is the most underrated position group on the 49ers right now? What do you think is the most overrated position group?
The most underrated. Ooh. You know what? The safety position. Yeah. I'm going to go with safety. Only because, between Jimmy Ward and, Jaquissi Tart, I'm going to use those names because they're starters.
Right.
Only because between those two guys, they may have, 3 interceptions in between them?
Mm-hmm.
But those two guys in man-to-man coverage, they get the job done. And in the past, they really, if you think about it, playing that zone, if you look at the tape, Jimmy Ward is about 20 yards off the ball. Pretty much, hey, listen, we're in zone, so don't worry about nothing really in front of you. Just don't let anybody get behind you. So I really believe now in that man-to-man, with quarterbacks seeing open windows, they're going to take more chances, not knowing Jimmy Ward is a sky thief.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ball hawk. Jaquissi Tart, he's running the ball a lot too, but he hasn't had many opportunities. And then, not to mention behind Tart, Tart, you got Jefferson coming back. He's a savvy vet.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Marcel Harris may transition to linebacker, he can do some damage in the box as well. He can do his job. And Hufanga, I'm hearing he's the first man and last man off the field every time. He might be out there now. So I really think this safety position may be the most underrated only because they don't have a whole lot of turnovers.
Right.
But they do their job. How many times has Tart gotten beat?
Not very often.
So exactly. So just because they don't have a lot of interceptions don't mean their coverage is terrible. So if both of the guys are healthy, be it Tart or Jefferson or Ward, this safety position is really underrated. And I really think this is the year you see this position make their mark on this team, especially with that front seven in front of them.
Yeah, and I think you're right. For as well Ward and Tart have been over the last few seasons, I think some of the reason why they don't just get national attention is health reasons, right? Ward really just recently was able to put together, a full season. Tart's been kind of in and out, so like you said, best abilities, availability. Since they're not on the field all the time, they don't really get the press that the rest of the media does. Another group that I think is kind of underrated is going to be this receiving core. And I think, with Debo, healthy Debo, with Brandon Ayuk, and whomever turns into that three, it's kind of looking like either, if Hurd comes back healthy, maybe he'll jump into that wide receiver 3 mold, or maybe Mo Sanu, who seems to be playing well in training camp. But I think those 3 receivers can do a lot. I think they also have had issues just because of who was throwing them the ball. You're not able to see their full repertoire as well. What about overrated position group? Who do you think, if the 49ers have an overrated position group, what would you say it is?
You know what? Somebody call it a cop-out, but I would say edge position. Only because we expect so much from Nick Bosa and a D Ford, but unfortunately, both of those have been hurt over the past couple of years. So they're only overrated because of the health, and we don't know what we'll get from them this year. But I will say, from what I've seen so far from Nick Bosa and I almost cried when I saw D Ford out there.
Man, what a beautiful sight.
In drills. Oh, man. Do you remember how deadly this pass rush was with a Nick Bosa and a D Ford?
Right.
And now you add this interior D line and a more aggressive defense. Oh man, come on.
People forget, in 2019, obviously the defensive line did really well, but it only did really well when D Ford was in it. When D Ford was out, they struggled. When D Ford came back in, they were world beaters. So having D Ford there, and this is something that's funny, Kev, on a roundtable that I did on Grant's channel, we were talking about what the worst contract on the 49ers was. And at that time, I said D Ford because we were paying somebody who wasn't even going to play. This was like a couple months ago. And now we look at it, he is playing. Now all of a sudden that becomes a great contract, because if you're like, whatever you can't overpay D Ford for the type of contribution he does and the way he elevates that defensive line. So if we could get anything out of him for a whole season, oh my God, the defensive line, it's gonna make Bosa's price tag so much higher because he's gonna have so much more of a productive season. And all these guys on the defensive line are gonna get heavy paychecks when it's time for them to get paid if D Ford is there, because he makes everybody on that line look better.
Man, look, and I know what I'm about to say is going to make something bitter because he really did this in real life. You know, he jumped off sides in the playoffs. You know, he jumped off sides a couple times for us. But his first step, there's been times where he wasn't off sides. You had to ask yourself, was he offside?
Was he offside?
That's how fast he be in the backfield. Like, before you blink, he in the backfield. So, I mean, and when him and Bosa are healthy, and again, with the interior D-line, rotation is going to be the most viable asset for this D-line, along with Chris Kocurek. Chris Kocurek is a monster. I believe if he could put pads on today, he'll get out there too. Oh, and Daryl Tapp, don't underrate him either. His addition to this D-line is going to be huge as well. I mean, so again, man, if we're healthy, okay, somebody said, oh, no, I like that linebacker, right? Because behind All-Pro Fred and Big Play Dre, I mean,
and Al-Shaair just went down with the injury in training camp today. Hopefully it's not that serious, but you know, there is a reason why they're putting Marcel Harris there, trying him at linebacker. There's been rumbles about Hufanga maybe moving to linebacker. Obviously that's because, you know, they have the ability to bring these guys in for depth pieces. But yeah, I mean, but when you have Greenlaw and Fred Warner there, those are two of the best, you know, combination of linebackers in the league. Pinor said underrated backfield, overrated interior D line. Wow. So he says Arik still hasn't brought a brain, but he really means brought in that 2019 production. But this year needs to be a statement. Kinlaw's arthritic knees. DJ Jones isn't always healthy. And something that you touched on is even if these guys aren't always fresh and always healthy, there's a very capable body there that can move into those positions in the interior that could be a productive player, which is why you're pretty high on the interior defensive line, correct?
And you are correct. But there's one name I haven't used yet. And there's some people out there who are not going to agree. And I don't care. It's okay. Because it's always real talk. But I'm telling you right now, under the tutelage and the guidance of Chris Kocurek, don't sleep on Arden Key. Like I said in my article, Arden Key is a beast.
Right.
He just had the opportunity to reach his potential. He got good bend, good first step, has a move for the ball. And like Grant said the other day, he pretty much had a timeshare in the backfield. I mean, practice or not, the man gets in the backfield. And even with the Raiders last season, he had a lot of almost.
Right.
Well, when Defoe had all of them almostes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, so come on, man. And again, that's rotation. That's depth. So, I mean, look out for Arden Key. I'm telling you. I mean, so.
I want to give a shout out to Miss Debbie Ryan. May I ask those watching to hit the like to show Sunil and Kev you appreciate the conversation you're viewing. Thank you so much, Debbie. Appreciate you watching.
Thank you, Mama Deb. She know I love her. Thank you, Mama Deb. Oh, man, you know what? Hold on. Can I do something?
Please.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
We got a Silverado Kev exclusive here on So Real Sports Talk.
Mama Deb, I thank you for this, Mama Deb. You know, she said check your mail. I don't know what was coming, but this is exactly what it was.
Wow, that's fire.
You know, I don't even wear hats, man. You know what I'm saying? But I love it. I'm gonna find a way to this one though, and you see what it say. Straight out of the Bay Area.
That's awesome. Francisco. Mama Deb, I'll send you my address if you sending everybody gifts.
Hey, I'm sorry, Mama Deb, but I had to say thank you. I didn't mean to put you out there like that. You know, I didn't wear hats, but I'm definitely gonna wear this one though.
Hey, that's a fire one.
Mama Deb.
That's a fire one.
Mama.
Well, Kev, we'll get you out on this one. You know, obviously, you seem pretty high on the 49ers this season. You like the moves that they made. I mean, obviously, everything's contingent on health for you, but you really like the roster that's put together. What are going to be your overall predictions for this season? And let's talk about wins, losses, and how far you think they can get.
Okay, we did a show on this recently on a Real Talk Niner Talk. But even with the floor with a healthy team, the floor, even with Jimmy, I say 12. 11, 12 wins is the
Wow.
floor. Now with Trey, you may be more about 15 or so, 14, healthy though. So this if this team, and I hate having to say this, but if we're healthy, we Super Bowl bound. And this time, we're not blowing the lead with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
And why are you so confident that? Why are you so confident that this team can reach that type of level? Like, what are you seeing that really gives you that feeling that a healthy roster can go Super Bowl bound and take it, even with a rookie quarterback, which has never been done before, Kev?
Okay, well, I'll give you a reason on offense and on defense. So,
Okay.
like we discussed a moment ago, what one adjustment did Kansas City make after the half that pretty much stifled the offense?
They pretty much put everybody on the edge, all their big guys, and they stopped that rushing attack.
They stopped the outside zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now with the addition of Alex Mack and Aaron Banks, who's still coming along, by the way, even with Brunskill, they can still run the inside zone now. So now, okay, you set everybody outside you want to, we run right down your face, right up the middle, with the inside zone, play action, what have you. On defense, it's just more depth. I really think we gassed out in the Super Bowl, bro. I did.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we gassed out. And then, again, all due respect to Sherman, to Uncle Sherman. I did a video on you yourself, but all due respect, if that play don't happen, or those plays don't happen when he got beat by Sammy Watkins, it's a whole different game. So now there's the expectation of a good man corner or somebody not getting beat man isn't there. So now I really just feel like I always felt, Jamil, that 2019 season we were 1 or 2 years too early. I'm glad we got there, but I really
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is kind of like a one-off situation, and I'm glad we win the way we were winning. But I just didn't feel like we were just pretty much there yet. But now with the makeup, and not to mention Kyle Shanahan, know he got to get it done,
Right.
especially now. So now I feel we have the makeup in pretty much every position. If we pick the right 53, to go ahead and press for that coveted 6 Lombardi.
That's juicy, man. Pine, we'll get out. We'll get out of here with a couple of comments. So Jimmy could win a Super Bowl with this team if the run and defense are healthy enough. And believe me, I hate Jimmy more than Michael Jordan hates losing. Yeah, and I mean, I really think pointing to your reasoning with Kyle Shanahan, you know, being maybe on the hot seat or knowing that he has to do something big this season. Obviously, when you trade 3 first-round draft picks to get your quarterback of the future, you start the time clock as far as this has to work or this doesn't have to work. Another big thing is a lot of these key pieces that you're talking about are on 1-year contracts. So this might not be the team that we have next year because a lot of these guys are going to go off of free agents and we might lose in free agency due to being outbid by other teams. So this is really when you're talking about the type of depth on both the offensive line and defensive line, the type of options that Kyle Shanahan has, being able to do the inside zone or the outside zone, and then D'Amico Ryans with the rotation on the defensive line, plus the type of corners that they have. Really, they have to kind of put it together this season because next season, all of this might be, gone just because there's more opportunity in free agency with the salary cap rising and so on and so forth. A lot of these players are going to be, stolen by other teams through free agency. So you're right. This is the year they got to do it. This is the year they can really maximize. And if they do that, then we have like what happened with Tampa. All these guys come back because they want to win another chip with the team. we got that 5-year window with Trey. So, hopefully we can maximize it while he's cheap and, really, really put together this total squad to win the Super Bowl. I'll give you the last word, Kev.
I mean, well, in terms of all those 1-year contracts, the majority of that because of the cap. You know, you can't give a player the money you don't got.
Right.
Ain't no IOUs. So with the cap going back up, and I see if Verrett has another season like he had last year, there's no way we don't pay him next year.
Right.
Especially him knowing that this is what he wants. He wants to show the world that wasn't a fluke. In terms of Kyle Shanahan, the only out I give him is injuries. I mean, because let's be honest, if you go to work every day and for whatever reason you're not your best self, you can't put the best product out there because you're not your best self.
Right.
So injuries, and hate to bring it back to this, but he hasn't really had a top tier quarterback since he's been here. Think about. I'm gonna go back to the Tecmo Bowl reference. You remember playing Tecmo Bowl?
Absolutely.
You had 4 plays, right?
Yep.
You play Madden, it's like, all right, I got pages and pages and plays to choose from. That's the comparison, and I'm gonna leave it at that.